Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another pre-market watch list here today inside the boiler room. So thank you all once again for tuning in. I appreciate you guys joining. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, sorry about the speaker there. It's going to echo a little bit. Apologize. So once again, good morning. Thank you guys for tuning in. Do appreciate it. So today is going to be a little interesting. Don't have a lot of crazy good picks. It's more of one of those speculative days where you kind of sit back and just watch the market for right now, see what's going to happen. Right now, the stock market looks like it's in an ascending wedge pattern. So I don't really expect, I could be wrong, but I don't expect we're going to see any really big moves on the market today. I think it's going to be more of one of those back and forth choppy battle days. All right. So good morning, Donald, Zaref, Jeremy, all you guys tuning in. So for those of you watching right now, I do want to come out and let you know that we are running an early, kind of like an early sale special to our trading room and our trading course. You can use the coupon code PENNYSTOCK15. I will also put the coupon code in the description of this video. Long story short, we are completing and finishing up our whole section on mastering penny stocks that will be done by the end of the month and onto our current course. So if you're already a member, you will have access to it. If you're not already a member, you can join us for 50% off until the end of the month for when the mastering penny stocks section is uploaded and put onto our course and live trading room. All right, so with no further ado, now that we've got a good amount of people in here, we are going to Okay, so with that being said, we are going to hop into sharing the screen and let you guys know what we are looking at. So I'm only going to go over a few stocks, and then we'll kind of take a step back and look at some of the stocks that you guys want me to take a look at. All right, so first on my list was also a stock that I mentioned on my last night's watch list, FCB. This is one of my favorite stocks so far that I've really taken a good look at, just because it appears that it is in a well, it is for sure in a cup, right? I mean, if you look at this pattern, it's a perfect cup, almost picture perfect, right? The pattern here on FCB is almost picture perfect, and if it does pull back, we might have a very nice cup and handle pattern, and we should have a very bullish move on this particular stock. Granted, it is possible that it will just see resistance here and it stops and it never does take off, or it could see resistance here and stop. So that's possible, right? There's no guarantee that it's going to pop up, pull back, and go. But, it very well could with the pattern we're seeing in here, this perfect cup. Not to mention, if you look at the stock, right, it usually trades some pretty normal volume, and then all of a sudden, boom, look at that right there. Big indicator, huge volume spike. Next thing you know, stocks start to take off, right? So volume spikes are very important to pay attention to, and that's what we're seeing here on FCB, along with a perfect cup and handle, possibly pattern. All right, so that is primarily one I'll be watching for the next few days. I'm not buying it right now. I'm not going to buy it. I need to wait for it to pull back, see some type of significant, because that's the deal, right? On these particular patterns, cup and handles, it needs to pull back first before going. That's the idea there. That's the game plan. So I'll be watching it on a one-day chart and a 180-day chart, maybe even a 20-day 1 hour chart. We'll see. So that is essentially the first stock that I really like. Next, we're going to talk about AGLT. ALGT. This is going to be more of an expensive stock. So for some of you guys, I know that this is probably won't be the easiest thing for you to trade. You could also trade options on it if you wanted to. I'm not going to touch on the option side of it today, but here is ALGT. ALGT over the past couple days has gone from a high of 177 to a low of 150 to some previous support here. Actually, was that? Hold on. Okay. To some previous support here. This is actually a really good thing to watch. Okay, guys. So again, watch this, right? This thing trades pretty normal volume. Then all of a sudden, boom. Look at that volume spike. Volume spikes you want to pay attention to. All right. Now, ideally, what we have going on here is ALGT, Allegiant Airlines. So ALGT is it's an airline, and 60 Minutes just did an investigation on them. So you could go to YouTube right now and you can search up ALGT investigation. If you look at the investigation, basically ALGT, which is Allegiant Airlines, and the FAA, them too. And here you got 60 Minutes. Let me put a min there. 60 Minutes did an interview and investigated ALGT. They did an interview with some of the members on the FAA. And long story short, there's a lot of security issues with ALGT or Allegiant Airlines. People have come out and spoken, said sometimes they've gotten onto flights and their doors wouldn't close, the engines have blown, et cetera, et cetera. So ALGT is an older, they've been around for a while. A lot of their planes are about 20 years old. Some would argue that those are outdated. Regardless, ALGT and Allegiant Airlines is having a lot of functionality issues with their planes that could be imposing on some of the security standards for the airplanes and a lot of those requirements that are supposed to be met. So 60 Minutes has done an investigation, come to find a lot of the stuff going on at ALGT and some of the stuff with the FAA kind of points of red flags. And all of a sudden you get this huge volume spike on ALGT on Friday, and their stock drops from 165 down to 150. So it dropped $15 a share on Friday. And I think there's worse to come. I think we're going to see ALGT continue down today, and we're going to get continuation to the downside. So I would be short bias on ALGT. If you're a newer trader, you maybe want to stay away from this. It's probably going to have really wide spreads of a few dollars. So if you're not as, if you're newer to trading, be very cautious if you try to trade this. But again, right, ALGT, this might turn into more of a short swing trade. You never know, but they have some really negative news on ALGT. Whenever 60 Minutes gets you on an investigation or an interview, it's usually not a good sign. So be very, I'm going to be very short bias on ALGT today. Handwriting is out of this world, guys. It's phenomenal. Luckily, no problems. You know what, Todd? I'd have to look into that, but that might be definitely something to consider. ECYT. So, teach you how to trade those big spreads. So, Angel Martinez, they're a big spread, you would trade the same way as a small spread. So if it's big, you take less share size to minimize risk. Or if it's a big spread, you're either going to have to get in on the ask, or you'd have to be getting in on the bid, selling on the ask, selling on the bid. That's the only way you can do it. Either you sell the bid, you buy in the bid, or you sell on the ask, or you minimize the amount of shares so that you can minimize your risk. Okay, next on the list, I will mention ECYT. So ECYT had a pretty red day. We might see a little bit more red out of it, but all in all, I think I do have a bullish outlook on ECYT. Though it's coming down right now, I would think that in the coming days, we might see it bounce off this trend line and then actually break up. All right. It did get a price target raised to like 17. Though I don't care about price targets and all that stuff, they usually don't mean anything to me. It is, in fact, still uptrending. We're pulling back right now. So based on a 180-day chart, we might follow its trend line support and then, end up breaking up above 11 and so on to 12, etc. So right now, it's more of a neutral standstill on ECYT. Just because, if you look at the chart, it still needs to come down a little bit before it starts hitting some trend lines. But I think we're about there, and we're going to start seeing it maybe trickle back up. So I keep ECYT on your watch for possibly long and maybe a swing trade. All right, so that is that one. And then we have the market. Let's talk about the market real fast. So if you look at the market from 180 days, right, 180-day chart, all it's basically telling you is that, on Friday, we broke down our trend line support. So let me delete the other ones off. So over here. So on Friday, kind of what happened was We were trading like that, and we had this trend line support that I'm about to draw right now. That was our trend line support, and it broke on this candle right there. That's the candle that broke the trend line support. So ideally at this point, we should have kind of dropped out, but we didn't, and we actually got bought back up. And now we're fighting to try and, again, break into new highs. Though I don't necessarily think it's going to happen, now we are in what you would call a ascending wedge pattern. So now we have a new trend line support like this, and then that's kind of what it's like. It looks just like that, or some would argue it's like this. Ooh. All right, so we are in fact into an ascending wedge pattern at the moment. So I think we're still going to have a couple more days of the slow grind chop before we have another big pull on the market. So right now, for the most part, I'm pretty neutral on the market. Not going to talk too much there. UVXY, TVIX, inverse related tickers to the market, volatility index funds are not going to be trading very great today, most likely because the volatility index is low. If you look at the VIX, the volatility index is all the way down to 16 almost. So 16, 17. So the volatility is extremely low right now. Not extremely, but it's pretty low. So low that I don't really see us having any really significant moves on the market today, or significant moves on those particular stocks. Let's see, no problem. I'm careful with that. All right, so that is primarily all the things that I'm watching today. That's really just it. Other than that, there hasn't been, unless something has changed and I don't know about it. No, I haven't had time to do any research on the oil thing. Again, a lot of people are kind of thinking it has to do with not necessarily the chemical attack, but the tension between America and Syria. A lot of people think that's why oil prices are going up, but that doesn't really make sense to me. So I'm going to do some more digging into it. But you know, the most simple answer for oil prices going up is, you know, everybody looks for what's the reason this is happening, what's the reason for that's happening. And the end of the day, bottom line, the reason it's going up is because the demand obviously has increased. 9 out of 10 times, the reason oil price goes up is because demand has increased for whatever reason. And the idea here, I don't think it has anything to do with the Syria tension. So again, I will do some more research and come up with my own analysis. And when I do, I'll let you know. And then I'll comprise that into a video of a bunch of oil ETFs and things you can watch. So honestly, personally, I just think, you know, and maybe that's it. They cut back oil supply, so therefore less supply, still a high demand. Again, you know, there could be numerous things. You know, there could be, you know, one of the biggest oil suppliers, exporters out of the Middle East, maybe production has slowed down. Therefore, the availability to oil has then, you know, diminished a little bit. So there could be numerous amounts of reasons, but it all comes back to simple economics, and it's just supply and demand. You know, that's primarily at the end of the day. Occasionally, you'll get those random spikes in stocks and ETFs for when there's a scare, right? Like whenever Donald Trump would release a tweet about something, we'd see a drop in the market because, you know, people were scared. They didn't know what to expect, right? And now it's kind of slowing down. He'll tweet something and nothing really happens. So, you know, it's usually that initial frightened scare that spikes a price, and then it kind of settles, right? Yes. All right, so those are all the stocks I'm going to watch. So again, if you guys want now, you can send through some of your stocks you want me to take a look at in the chat here, and I'll get to as many as I can with the time we have. We have about 10 minutes left here on this video. So go ahead, throw out some tickers you guys want me to take a look at in the chat here on YouTube, and then we'll go from there, try and get a quick little description going, analysis. CYRN, okay. And if we're gonna do this, I need to hop into a chart like that, right? Take a 1 day, 1 minute, link this, red, okay. And all right, so the first one is, all right, slow down. All right, I'm going to try and get to as many as I can, of course. CYRN. Jeez, I suck. There you go. Okay, CYRN, extremely low volume stock. Chances are I will not necessarily be trading it. And I don't necessarily recommend trading it, but something that I will point out is has been seeing these occasional volume spikes. You can see here in the millions. So that would be something to maybe note. There is some interest, clearly, if you're getting some volume spikes like this. But for day trading purposes, this is not going to be a good stock to trade. All right, DPW. DPW, on the other hand, you know, so the way I see it with DPW is, you know, in this time frame right here, there was a bunch of short selling taking place, and then of course it had a steady decline. And it's possible that this little pop we're seeing is just it, and I know what it is. It's support buyers. So right, there's people that are buying DPW because right. The reason they're buying DPW is because back here, right, you know, the 50-cent area was a support. We basically came right back down to that area, right? So support buyers, and right, you have these short sellers that were in here, and now that it's bottoming out, they're starting to squeeze up. So do I think it's necessarily a good long buy? Not really, but you might be able to get in on a day trade for a quick little pop. But as you can see now, it's basically trending down, and I don't trust it because on Friday, DPW, when it popped up to this price, there was over probably five. There was probably at least 3 million to 5 million shares trying to be sold at 150. I was actually in the stock long. I bought in long on one of these dips here, these pullbacks, and I wrote it up to 150. And as soon as we hit 150, there was like 4 to 5 million shares trying to be sold. Instantly got out, and then it just came down for the rest of the day. Okay, so don't really think DPW is going to be one of the best stocks to be watching here today necessarily. All right, you guys, I don't follow you guys. I'm not the best at this one. So to be honest, I don't want to give any opinionated suggestions on you guys because I don't follow you guys. I don't know how it trades. I know it does have some inverse relations and whatever, but I don't follow it, so I don't know it. So I don't necessarily want to talk on that until I do some more research and know about it pretty well. Okay, so I do apologize, but again, it's one of those ones that it's just one that I never really followed. JDST is kind of the same thing, guys. JDST I don't necessarily follow very often, so I don't feel strong recommending much on it, but I'll do some more research on JDST, and it won't take me long, and you guys, and then next time, we'll be able to do some better analysis on that. Boeing. Oh, didn't Boeing just have news? Just have news or something? Yeah, because they got an agreement to do a bunch of planes for American Airlines, wasn't it? Or something like that. Stocks like Boeing, these big market moving stocks, it's not easy to analyze them because there's so much more that goes into them versus a technical analysis. These are more fundamental plays, but if I had to say technicals point to a long bias trade, not necessarily right now, but I mean, we just went through a dip, right? If you look at Boeing, right? Boeing, we popped up to a high. We just dipped, right? Now we're kind of curling back up. If you look at here, I mean, it's kind of changing trend, right? If this was a trend line, this yellow line, right? If this yellow line is the trend line, the stock is just starting to break out of that trend there. So we might be on the way back up. Price target just got raised to 400 by, I think, Morgan Stanley. 400 price target by Morgan Stanley basically means nothing, but it is something to consider. So Boeing may be on the rise. I know they just had a big deal, I think, with American Airlines to do a bunch of planes for them. So You know, I don't know for sure. It'd be something I have to do a little bit more digging on and read the news and check out what's going on in the marketplace on that one. CGIX, I think CGIX is one of the main gappers this morning, right? Yeah, CGIX from 95 cents to $1.39. The news, BZ Cancer Genetics. Okay, that's a good one to watch here this morning. This has potential. Anytime you get a penny stock and it has some news about FDA clearance, you know, it's usually a good idea to keep it on watch. So I would recommend keeping CGIX on your watch list here today. It has a pre-market high of 139. So majority of traders are going to play the breakout above 139 on the stock in the morning if it does start to pop. Some things to think about is on the daily chart. Let me zoom in on here. The daily chart resistance is going to be right, where is this? This is at 160. So 162, you're going to have resistance. Pretty strong resistance because that's the gap fill and there's the 50 moving average. So I'd say 162 is a reliable and smart target price on CGIX if it were to pop here today. Okay, what time is it? 8:57, so 3 minutes to go. TEUM, OPTT. Okay, TEUM. TEUM is very light on volume. Probably not going to be your best trade today. OPTT. OPTT is extremely light on volume. Probably don't want to trade that unless you're doing. The only reason you would want to trade TEUM or OPTT at this given time is if you're if you're trading it for a speculative long-term investment. So if you think long-term OPTT or TEUM is going to go up, then sure, you can trade it. But if you're going to try and trade it as a day trade or maybe even a swing trade right now, there is almost zero value based on what the chart and volume is telling us. MARA. MARA is kind of in the same scenario as DPW, where if you look at it, you know, we skyrocketed, then we got short sold, right? So short sellers piled in here and here and here and here, wrote it down. It's starting to base out, right? Oh, let me clear that up. So you have support here, right? Support is on the $1 mark. So it just bounced, right? So chances are in the coming days, we might see MARA actually go long. It just depends on how many people are trying to buy up this bounce area and how many short sellers are still in short there, ready to squeeze it out. So MARA may not be bad here in the coming days. I would actually be a little bit long bias on that, and I mentioned it in my weekend watch list as well. FUSZ. Isn't this OTC? Is it OTC? Yeah, it is OTC. So I don't trade OTCs. A lot of manipulation goes on there, so I don't necessarily recommend trading it, considering it is an OTC stock. But I mean, this is pretty classic so far. You have a stock that was, you know, 5 cents, major pump up. So far, we're seeing a double top here, so we might start coming down, right? If that makes sense to you. If you look at this, it looks like a perfect double top. And I'll actually zoom in more so this becomes more relevant and clear. Okay, so if you go on Google right now, you'll search up double top, you'll probably see something like that, right? And what does this look like? Okay, so kind of short bias on FUSZ for right now. More of a long-term short bias, not necessarily the day or tomorrow, but more short bias on that. Okay, what is it? 8, 9 o'clock. All right, let's see what else we got here. NBC. Okay. All right, guys, so that's all I have for you here on this watch list. So again, I hope that helps being able to go through some of those stocks for you guys. I hope you guys like my watch list. For those of you that may be tuned in a little bit later here today, keep your eyes on FCB. Possible cup and handle pattern coming out in the next couple days. Kind of long bias on ECYT over the next couple days as well. The market, I think is at a standstill. So I'm not too crazy about that. For today, it's more of, I think right now the market hasn't really for sure picked a direction. So I think we're more of on a neutral bias on the market. Things are on a standstill. So for the beginning of this week and today, I'm just going to hang back. I'm not crazy about jumping in any new trades. I'm just going to sit back right now and watch it so I get a feel for what's going to take or what's going to happen. And then is it ALGT? I think it's. And then ALGT, negative news. I would be short bias on that. Watch ALGT here today, guys. So thank you guys very much for tuning in. Yeah, it's one of those mornings you sit back and kind of just watch the scanner. So I don't know how many of you guys are new viewers or anything like that, or if you guys wanted to join into my trading room, boiler room trading, our trading room, live trading room. We have stock scanners and a whole course, yada, yada. Long story short, there is a 50% off coupon that you can use today, and it's valid until April 30th. The coupon code is PennyStock15, all one word, no spaces, PennyStock15. You can use it at checkout for our monthly service. The reason we're doing 50% off is it's an early bird coupon sale for our next upcoming section in our course, Mastering Penny Stocks. It's going to be one of the biggest sections that's even available in our course today. That'll be done by the end of the month, so we're letting people get in on an early enrollment for 50% off for that new section that's coming into the course. Probably going to be 30, 40 different lecture videos. So really cool stuff. That will be the first link in the description where you can sign up. And then after I get off here, I will put in the coupon code. So if you don't remember it. So once again, thank you for tuning in. And you guys can get off 50% off right now into our whole trading course and live trading group. So honestly, if you want to take your trading to the next step, that's probably one of the steps you should take in getting the 50% off. So I will see you guys all tomorrow morning for another watch list, okay? Stay green.